Alright, we're straight to the whiteboard today because we are talking about El Nino. Now this is something I've been following for a little while. Probably a lot of y'all have because it's been in the news. I was a little early to it because I'm always looking for an edge in investing. Anyway, that is El Nino. This red up here, that's for America, the places likely to be most impacted by extreme weather. But this is El Nino. Why is it red? Looks like a tongue, they call it the red tongue. It's red because it's hot, right? It's the Pacific Ocean. On the surface, it's hot. That's it. That's all El Nino is. There's a bunch of buoys, there's a bunch of satellites. They all look at the ocean here. When that gets hot, that's El Nino. Everything else, everything that happens in the atmosphere is related to this heat, but it doesn't always play out every time. So right now, we're going to talk about El Nino, what it is, why it is. What it is, like I just said, is that heat. Why it is because this is the Pacific Ocean. I'm a great artist, and as you can see, this is Peru, this is Indonesia and the Philippines, that's the water. Now actually, the water will look like this. It's tilted, which doesn't make any sense because everybody knows the Earth is flat and not a globe. So why is it tilted? Well, it's tilted because of the trade winds, which are yellow, because I just didn't have that many other colors to choose from. So the trade winds literally take the water from the east, push it to the west. So it piles up, and it makes what's called the thermocline, right? So the water piles up, and then it makes thermocline, because all this is hot, because it's at the surface, it gets hit by the sun. This is cold, it's hot up here, and then it's cold down here. Because where is this water coming from? It's coming from the east. It's getting pushed, right? So this water from the surface moves, but you can't just take something and not put anything back. So water from underneath where it's cold, no sun, it's cold, comes up, and it's cold. It feeds the fish, does a lot of cool stuff over off the western coast of Peru in the eastern Pacific. Now, what is El Nino? Pause while I erase this. El Nino is when this stops, okay? No more trade wind, at least not for a little while. This time around, it was because of two cyclones over here, one on the northern equator, one on the southern equator, right? Because of the Coriolis force, they're rotating in opposite directions. Both of them, this is at the equator, the Pacific Ocean at the equator, both of them pushing, where did my yellow go? Both of them pushing westerly wind anomalies that way. Westerly doesn't mean going west, it means coming from the west. Okay, so what does that do? It just evens it out, right? So it gets a little more even, and now this is how we know that this El Nino is gonna be a strong one. On top of the fact that this right here, this is from like today. This is what a strong El Nino looks like. Today is July 30th. And El Nino usually doesn't peak in strength until around like November. It doesn't even show up usually until around now or into August or September, right? So peak November, December time, and then it'll continue all the way through spring. So it's already strong, and that's why they're saying it's going to be a super El Nino or Gozira El Nino. Sorry. Racist against the Japanese, I guess. Great people, great craftsmanship at sushi. Okay, so what's going on right now? Typically, the hot water over here, it goes down maybe like 30, 40 meters. Right now, let's say this is 100, This is 150. Sorry, that's all out of whack. And this is 200. Right now, it looks like this. So there's heat. There's a gigantic, very, very, very hot mass of water down here. And that's from when these trade winds stop blowing, or you get this westerly wind burst, right? You have all this hot water pooled up over here, but there's gravity. And now there's no wind pushing it back. So it sloshes down. It's called a downwelling Kelvin wave. So that heat sloshes down and travels below the surface, literal mass of hot water pushing below the surface, and it comes up in the mid-Atlantic or eastern Atlantic, Pacific, sorry, wrong ocean, eastern Pacific, which steepens the thermocline. In other words, all of that cold water, all the nutrients, everything that the fish like, gets pushed way down, right? In some of the strongest El Ninos on record, gets down to maybe 150. I think like 152 is one of our record. Right now, it's really deep over here. It's up a little higher, maybe around 100, farther east. But this moves, right? So this is going to pool up in the east as this starts to, you start to get into the continental plate, so the oceanic plate. And that's going to deepen out. It's going to be, I think, the deepest thermocline, steepest thermocline ever on record. So one thing that's going to do is that is going to kill all the fish over here. This is where 80 to 85% of the anchovita farming happens in the entire world, is off the coast of Peru. And that is where 80 to 85% of the fish oil comes from. Not just the fish oil from your supplements, but also the fish oil for animal supplements and farmed fish, right? It's not animal supplements, it's more like animal feed. Omega-3s, DHA, EPA, they really increase feed efficiency. And farmed fish, like salmon, need them. They can't, there's no substitute because they're fish and they need to eat fish oil. So how do we get that? To farm the fish, we catch a bunch of anchovita over here and then ship it, right? So that's going to be terrible for the food supply of the entire world. Now, like I said earlier, sometimes this does not impact the global weather because we still don't really know. But it just, you know, whatever, El Nino doesn't really feel like doing his El Nino thing. So he's just a lazy guy. No, I don't do that. Right now, the correlation coefficient that shows how much like a typical El Nino, this El Nino is behaving, is very strong. So essentially, this is behaving like a standard run-of-the-mill El Nino, but it's super strong. So it's not going to be, you know, oh, the ocean gets weird, but nothing else happens. The correlation to the atmosphere is very, very strong. That's why I'm calling him El Cabron. This thing is going to be nasty. Everybody knows that by now, but that's what's going on here. So next up, what nobody wants to talk about is where are the impacts. So hopefully you can see this. Starting off in the U.S., we've got wet, also wet, but maybe not as extreme. Wet, possible extreme. Wet and cold snow. This is your nor'easters. This is floods, the southern and eastern United States. And then far west in California, you get your torrential rain. This heat is just from the monsoon. And that's going to carry a lot of moisture up into the southwest. It happens all the time every year, but now you've got this carrying all that moisture up there too. So what else happens? This gets really dry, and this gets really wet, right? Floods, drought. It's more floods and drought. It's the same thing I talked about last time. That had to do with the cold blob and the jet stream, right? But that was long-term, low intensity. This is short-term, high intensity, right? So you've got forest fires in the Amazon. Like 13, 14% of the Amazon is gone, and they estimate that at like 17% of it being gone, the whole thing collapses. Maybe it's 25, maybe it's 17% is gone, 25%. I don't remember, but it's like a few percent away from collapsing. This up here is going to dry out. Now, if you've been paying attention, this up here is already dried out. So that's not good because your fires are not going to stop. Okay, this dry and wet. So it suppresses the Indian monsoon typically. So rice, any food produce from India, expect a big issue with that. This, India, Pakistan, Afghanistan, that Indus River Valley kind of is where we are going to see the world's first water wars. Okay, it's already kind of happening, but water wars, I'm telling you, it's coming, and this is day one. Then this is going to get all jacked up. Pretty sure dry. I don't remember, but This is dry, and then when the rain comes, boom, massive rainfall. So that's basically it. That's your trend. So if you're in this region, right, southern United States, expect a cold winter, expect a wet winter. Europe, where's Europe? Sorry, Europe, just been off the radar recently, you know? They're not doing anything over there. Nothing interesting in Europe. The Europeans got to step it up. The World Cup was in America. What's up with that? So, Europe, it tends towards warmer and drier, but it's kind of flippy-floppy. As you get farther north and south, farther from the equator, the effects of the El Nino, they decrease in their specificity. Like it can be one thing or it can be another thing. The closer to the equator you are, the more sure of a forecast you're going to have. So why is this important? Well, one, if your home gets flooded, you're going to be in a bad mood. If you get snowed in, you're going to be in a bad mood. If everything's on fire, you're going to be in a bad mood, right? Secondly, food production, that's why here in the garden, it's not looking good for food production. On top of the whiplash weather that we've been having in the United States and Europe, and probably around the globe, but I've been focusing mostly on the United States and Europe. On top of the whiplash weather of now, we are going into a period of crazy, crazy weather. In 1877, when the strongest El Nino on record was, which this one, maybe stronger, maybe not. I kind of think, I just am guessing that it's going to be stronger, but what do I know? It's like 50-50, it's stronger than the strongest ever. So, you know, pretty good chances there. 3% of the global population died, which was at the time 50 million people. A lot of that was over here, India, and that was partially because of British colonialization. So India was a British colony, and as there was a famine in India, they were still exporting grain to Great Britain because they had to, because they were a colony. So that's not good, but that is still kind of how the world works, right? So expect high grocery prices in places like this, and expect maybe to die if you're in a place like this or here. Any of this along the equator, expect to maybe die. I'm being a little bit inflationary, like amping it up a bit, but it could be pretty insane. Up here, expect to pay a lot more for groceries. Now you combine that, like I said, with the whiplash weather that we've been having, and the oil fertilizer crisis coming from this area because of this area and this area and this area. Just get ready. So anyway, that may not have answered a ton of questions. This subsurface heat, this is the important thing, the hummingbird. I think the highest measured right now is about 9.1 Celsius above average, and that is like insane. 97, 98, and 82, they got up to like 5 above in the subsurface temperatures. So these surface temperatures, let me pick this graph again, I just set it down. These surface temperatures right now, they're not too crazy. I think they're hanging out in the like strong El Nino territory, like right around plus 2 Celsius. Strongest ever is like 2.5, and not sure about 1877. That might have been like a 3 or 3.5 above average in Celsius. But this is projections are like 3 to 4. So take that for what you will. I was going to go somewhere. Oh, that's right. So once the El Nino is over, that's actually where the real story begins, because all of that heat that I was talking about, all of this heat, all the heat off the surface, has been in the ocean, right? The oceans are super, super hot right now because the Earth is hot because of global warming, which has been caused by carbon emissions, among other things that are a little more local, specific, but predominantly greenhouse gas emissions. And 90% of that heat has been going into the ocean. A lot of the carbon dioxide has been going into the ocean too in the form of carbonic acid, because carbon dioxide combined with water in the form of weak acid called carbonic acid. Terrible for shellfish, carbonic acid, because it's an acid and they are basic because they're made of like calcium carbonate, I think. Their shells are, at least. And so combine carbonic acid, calcium carbonate, they dissolve, right? It's not good for them. They get really weak shells, and then they die. Right. So 90% of all of the trapped heat energy has been in the oceans. Now, what happens in El Nino, El Cabrón, this thing is going to release a ton of that heat energy into the atmosphere, where it's going to affect us, right? It's already affecting everything else. You see the dead fish, you see the dead seals, the dead, mostly marine life. Marine life has been getting hammered, seagulls, all that kind of stuff. Devastation in the marine front, and now it's going into the air. It's coming for everything. On top of what we've just been doing to all the living things on Earth without the increased temperature, 90% of bees, 70% of all insects. Insane stuff. It's going to be hot. 2027 is your preview for 2037, okay? 2027 I'm just going to say this with confidence, and if I'm wrong, come make fun of me forever. 2027 will be the hottest year on record. Even if 2026 is the hottest year on record, 2027 will be hotter. And then 2028 might also then be hotter than 27, but definitely for sure, 2027 is going to be the hottest year on record, and 2027 will be your wake-up call for this is what the world is going to look like every single day in 10 years, okay? Right now, this is crazy. Buckle up, get some food, get some beans and rice. Rice is going to go through the roof because, like I said, India's getting hammered. India makes a ton of rice. Meat, you already can barely buy meat, but you like chicken? Chicken gets a ton of supplementation from the fish meal from the anchoveta fisheries. And so if you want eggs, especially those nice like omega-3 rich eggs, I don't buy those. I can't afford that. But if you buy those, maybe stock up, freeze them. I don't know if you can really freeze eggs and store them. Dehydrate them, powder them. Anyway, just stock up on a little bit of extra food, get a little bit of extra electricity maybe, and just look at your region-specific issues, right? If you are in Australia, get ready for fire. If you're in the Northwest or in the Canadian prairie, get ready for fire. If you're in the South of America, get ready for flooding. If you're in the Northeast, get ready for your nor'easters. I know you have them all the time, but be ready to be snowed in for a few days. And because this is happening everywhere all at once, it's going to be on your local emergency services and communities, right? It's going to be on the people who are already there, because everybody else is going to be having their own problems somewhere else, okay? So if you're snowed in, don't expect FEMA help from people who are over here to come over, because they're going to be dealing with their own issues. Same with the rest of the world. If you have the access to resources to fortify your energy supply, fortify your food supply, and fortify your flood or fire resistance, either with fire breaks, drainage systems, whatever, do so now. If you're into cattle, some people in my family have cattle, right? Prepare for water. If you do any kind of agriculture, prepare for the water that's coming or not coming, right? Because you're either getting a lot of water or you're not getting a lot of water. And if you're somewhere that's getting a lot of water and you've been in a drought trend, now is the time to dig out your ponds. Now is the time to get ready to store that water. Because like I said, 2027 is going to be hot and all of that water is going back into the atmosphere because of the heat. All right. Another look around the garden. We're going to go more in depth today. We got our first sprout on, well, not sprout, but first flower. This is actually a flower. Oh, freaking fire ants. Dude, I can't get these fire ants out of this place. These are purple hull peas. They're a type of bean. This is the first flower. Gosh, this is flowering, but there's just fire ants all over. Hopefully they're pollinating it. I'm going to have to figure out. I'm going to have to get rid of them. Fire ants are very invasive. They're basically good for nothing. And they murder all of the ground nesting birds. They're second only to cats when it comes to causing the extinction of animals all around. I'm about to dump some water on this. These are pumpkins. Should be some basil in there somewhere, but it just never sprouted. Can't get it to sprout. It doesn't stay moist enough, even though I've got my sprinkler right here, the irrigation right there. And it was right there where that sweet potato is. Those are some sweet potatoes. Those are doing okay. Put some water on those. The okra. Let's see if we can catch any insect life doing its thing. Got some tomatoes. There's a tomato. Yeah, not seeing much. These, very recommended if you're somewhere hot. Oya. It's called Oya. Put water inside of it, and it's a semi-permeable pot. So the water seeps out slowly over time.